Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show. On today's show, we're going to talk about surprise cuts and roster spots on this Vikings roster. They're down to the 53 now, not official, because there was 864 other men out there on the market that they can and still can bring in for their team. David Blau from the Detroit Lions was just cut last minute, so there's still more cuts and more acquisitions to come. We're going to deep dive into who was the most surprising cut and who are we surprised that they kept on this Vikings roster? Up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. One-of-a-kind opinions, big-name guests, the teams you care about every day. It's the Ron Johnson Show, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Ron Johnson Show, and I am your host, Ron Johnson. Looking forward to today's show. Why? Because it's finally starting to feel like real football. Not until next Wednesday, though. Next Wednesday, the official team starts practice, because this week, still a lot of roster moves to happen, but next Wednesday, exactly 7 days from now, the official team is going to step out onto that field for their first Wednesday practice, because Monday, Tuesday, we know in the NFL is off days, and then Wednesday is that first week of install, the first week of Packer playbook, the first week of Justin Jefferson one step closer to a gritty at US Bank Stadium in front of the fans. Maybe Kevin O'Connell hits the gritty. We might have to take an over-under on that, because Kevin O'Connell, I'm guessing, probably can do it. So Kevin O'Connell might hit the gritty. But before we jump into these roster cuts for the Minnesota Vikings, we have a word. Locked On Sports Minnesota is a proud partner to Care 11. Check out care11.com/locked-on for links to every one of our Locked On shows, whether it's Twins, Vikings, Wolves, or Wild. Care has you covered. Also, check out Superior Sports Talks Reggie Wilson, bringing the sports every night on Care 11. Locked On Sports Minnesota, endless Vikings talk with local experts. Well, as we jump into this show, I want to bring in my producer, Sam Ekstrom, and we're going to talk a little, let's call it Vikings team, because it's not officially the team just yet. But Sam, there were some cuts made. There were some players that stayed. There were some names that you're like, who? Oh, I guess he made some plays. And this is a what have you done for me lately league. I've said that every single show during the preseason. It's a what have you done for me lately league. When these coaches don't know these players, even though they can watch film, it's a difference when you get around these players. And so now these coaches have been around these guys, but it's also, what have you done for me lately? And there are some guys that have made some plays, and then there's some guys that you're like, wait, what? And so I'm going to jump out there, Sam. The first one, Armon Watts. Even he was mind blown by him getting cut, because he tweeted it, because this is the new day and age where players can kind of give you the first reaction before Adam Schefter gets it. And so when Armon Watts was told he was going to be released, he tweeted right away, mind blown emoji. And of course, all the fans right away were like, oh man, I can't believe they cut you. You know, like, we wish you well, wish you were here, blah, blah. Like, that's a surprising one, because he was getting better and better every game. Seems like he was really explosive. T.Y. McGill, I think they were both going back and forth. T.Y. McGill gets hurt, so gets designated to IR. And Armon Watts, maybe they had already planned on cutting Armon Watts because of T.Y. McGill, but then T.Y. McGill gets hurt, and they just make a trade. And they trade it for somebody that they think is going to be a better fit for this team. And so with Armon Watts, this is the thing I'll say about the NFL, man. Like, there is never a guy sometimes that you cut and you know exactly what you're doing. There's guys that have been cut, and then we look at other teams and he goes there and thrives. There's been guys cut from other teams that end up on other teams, and then they thrive, and everybody's like, why'd they cut this guy? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers cut Tyler Johnson. I think that's one that people are like, wait, what? You know, I think the receiver that they kept is Rashad Perriman, I think is how you say his name. I think, yeah. But you know, I see a lot of tweets of people like, wait, we kept Perriman over Tyler Johnson. So, you know, this is definitely a what have you done for me lately? Like, clearly, whatever Perriman was doing during camp, making plays, it just didn't seem as flashy as Tyler. We know he's faster. We know he can stretch the field a little bit, but he's not a better receiver. And sometimes people get enamored with speed. Like we've seen the Raiders' entire draft the last 2 years show that. They've drafted Henry Ruggs over Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson. Like, what were you thinking? And it has nothing to do with the fact that he can't play anymore. It wasn't a good pick when they made it, even if he was fully ready to go this year. Like Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson. And you take Henry Ruggs. So there's mind-blowing moves in the NFL every year. And the Vikings, even though theirs is not, whoa, they made one. They cut Armon Watts. The cutting of Kellen Mond and Sean Mannion, I think they're going to try to bring Sean Mannion back on the practice squad as one of those 6. But if you look at the moves, waived Armon Watts, traded for Ross Blacklock, saving $1.2 million, traded Jesse Davis, waived Kellen Mond, Sean Mannion, I just said that, kept 5 running backs. That was Ty Chandler clearly earned it. Probably not gonna dress every week. Probably gonna be a special teams guy when he does. 5 receivers, we said that. I just had BC, but BC got hurt, so now, and I said Jalen Naylor and Tristan Jackson was between the 2 of them. They kept 3 tight ends. I think we figured that one out. Surprised at the 3 they kept, but hey, that's the 3 they went with. 10 offensive linemen. Said that. Chose Troy Dye over Blake Lynch. I think that one we said we didn't really know. And kept Luigi Villain on the 53. Well, he's the guy, for those that don't know, that's one of those names you're like, huh? But he's the guy that had the interception. And so Johnny on the spot. When you're Johnny on the spot, sometimes that catches the coach's eye like, hey, look, man, at least this guy's making a play. Like, what is Blake Lynch going to give us that this guy can't? And there was nothing. And so you go with the younger guy. And he's the younger guy in this scenario. So I think when you look, I think he's the younger guy. When you look at Luigi Villain, he made a play. And that's sometimes all it takes when you're the 3rd, 4th, 5th linebacker. You're the practice squad, or not practice, you're the practice guy, and you're the special teams guy. Maybe he gives you more on special teams from an athletic standpoint than Blake Lynch. And I think that's what we're forgetting, because we're questioning some of these moves. Some of these moves, those last 7, I said this, that's the special teams coach's guys. Like Ty Chandler, clearly a special teams coach guy. He's like, hey, I need this guy on teams. Like, he's going to be a guy that's going to 4-3 speed. Oh, yeah, he's going to get down there on punt. He's going to get down there on punt for sure. He's going to get down there on kickoff, even though guys don't return kicks anymore, but he will get down there. That guy can run. He's a guy who can put a kick return when Kane can't go. He's explosive. He's a guy that if Kane is having a hamstring or a quad or a calf, he can come in and run the jet sweep. So, we don't really know what this all. We know they're going to go into a game with 3 running backs and 1 fullback. We do know that. 5 receivers most likely will always dress based off what we've seen from the Rams. There's still talks with OBJ and when can he be fully healthy and ready to go. We know Kevin O'Connell's aware and knows him. OBJ, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and Justin Jefferson. That's scary. With a Mr. Marset, but that's OBJ to that 3. That's a scary 4. And that happened with the Rams. They added him last year, won a Super Bowl. So maybe Kevin O'Connell's trying to do the same thing. Hey, hold off from me. I got you. We're going to go win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins because he's the most accurate quarterback I've seen when the pocket is clean. But, Sam, what do you think? Like, what do you think about these cuts? Because Armon Watts, for me, I get the, wow, but also at the end of the day, I'm like, did he really, was it really, that big of a surprise? Like, he didn't do a ton where you really felt like you had to keep him. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this regime clearly prioritized saving money. Is there a move coming down the pipeline, Ron? Is there another big signing to come? And they also prioritized their draft picks over Spielman's draft picks. You look at some of the guys that got cut. Davis, Mond, Surratt, Davidson, Twyman, all the guys from last year. Look at the guys they kept this year's draft picks. They kept Chandler, Vidarian Lowe, Jalen Naylor, Caleb Evans, later round guys from this year. They only waived one of this year's draft picks, Nick Muse. But I want to go back to Watts and the money thing. So I was caught off guard by Watts because I never really saw them rotate him. He was with the ones all training camp. I didn't feel like they had a great replacement behind him. And I still don't know who's necessarily going to fill that spot. Maybe it's Blacklock or maybe it's someone else on the roster. But the money, maybe we should have been more on guard about Armon Watts because he's in a contract year and he got paid an extra $2.5 million by because of his playing time last year. That incentivized his contract this year. So he was making more money. So that became a target, I think, on his back, that salary. And they save money with the Jordan Berry cut. They save money with the Jesse Davis trade. They're saving money, Ron. What's coming? Is there something coming down the pipeline now that they've got an extra $4 million to play with? Ndamukong Suh, maybe? Is it a receiver? What's coming down the pipeline for the Vikings? That's the question I'm wondering today after they made some moves to get rid of some veterans that freed up a little bit of cash for Rob Brzezinski.
When you look at Blacklock, 6'3", almost 300 pounds, but he's a D end. Like, he's through 290. So he's a true big, solid D end, but a true D end. So this is the thing to remember in this 3-4 scheme, because that's the one thing you notice when even people are talking about this roster, like, oh, they only kept 6 D linemen. Well, yeah, because defensive ends are no longer considered D linemen. He actually is coming in as a D lineman, but he's a defensive end. He's like a bigger, shorter Julius Peppers when you talk about body type. At 290 pounds, he's a power end, meaning he's a 5 technique. He's not going to be a wide 9, a wide 7, a guy that can really just, angle in and go after the quarterback. He's more of a take on the tackle, take on the guards, double team guy from an end spot. But in this 3-4 scheme, he's outside and you got your nose tackle. And so when you think about adding that's adding maybe a more powerful body over Armon Watts that you've seen on film. They've seen what they liked out of him in the last 2 years. The funniest, though, man, is they had him on, I don't know if he's mic'd up or something, but it was 85-degree humidity, which means it's super hot. 85% humidity in Texas. So it was, 100-some degrees. And he got caught on video saying, like, woo, it's hot or something. And then he tweeted, when somebody tweeted that video out, winter me. Like, basically, like, get me to the winter. I can't wait for Texas's winter to come because at least it goes down to 90 and 80. And literally now he got wintered, like, for sure. Winter is coming, my man. Like, when it comes, it might be here next month. Like, October is winter here. So October in Texas is still 90s. October here might be 50 or 30. Like, you never know in October in Minnesota. I've seen the Halloween snowstorm. I've also seen a Halloween great night. So you just never know in Minnesota. But he's about to get wintered. Winter me? Oh, you got winter, bro. But I love the fact that, this regime is not afraid to just not stick with the norm. Like, this has been the past. It's always been, well, let's not really blow it up. And they didn't blow it up, but they did get rid of a lot of pieces that were here. And so it does feel like a change in the building. You kept the core pieces that are going to win you games, and then you changed up the extra pieces. And I think that's necessary, though. You have to figure out what guys fit your system. You have to figure out what guys fit your culture, what you're trying to get out of this group. And a Blacklock guy at 290, like, that's what they're looking for. So we'll see. I mean, in the end, again, these trades and things like this that happen, they don't always work out. Like, you're just going off of film you saw from the preseason the last 2 years, but clearly they had their eye on him. They feel like he's a better piece in that draft class than what the 2020 draft class of the Vikings, 2020, 2021. When you think about 2021 for sure, Christian Darrisaw really the bright light, but everybody else pretty much gone. You do get the Cam Bynum out of that one as well. So there are some pieces in there. But I get the move. I get why they're doing this. I think there are more moves down the road, though. When you look at Sezi Atamewu out of the Gophers, undersized, but definitely powerful, can get bigger and stronger, eating, lifting weights. As I call it, getting that grown man strength, when every day is your job. You don't have the stress of class anymore. It's literally practice, home, watch film, relax. Practice, home, watch film, relax. It's your job now. You don't have the stress of, do I have a 10-page paper to turn in tomorrow? Do I have a test? So a guy like that might get cut, but then try to stash on practice squad. So there's going to be some moves. I think a lot of those moves will come late, and they come like either the end of this week or next week when most teams have already kind of filled their roster out. So you're not worried about cutting a guy that would get picked up. And that's what happens when rookies, that might get picked up. You kind of hold them. I can see Ty Chandler being a part of that, getting cut and then stashed. because everybody else has filled their roster out of running backs they need. The Alexander Madison trade still could happen. People have talked about that with the Eagles and some other teams that need a running back. So there were some other top running backs that got released. The Texans released one of their top ones and kept a younger guy. So, yeah, I mean, this offseason, or sorry, this preseason has been anything but predictable. There's the thing about the trades and about the rest of this roster. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. Where do we really put this trade? Where do we put some of these acquisitions? Did the Vikings do themselves a disservice by really feeling like they need to get rid of a lot of Rick's guys? Or is this the right move for the Vikings? Before we jump into that, make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Sports Minnesota for endless Vikings talk during the football season. It's free and available on the LockedOnPodcast.com/Minnesota or wherever you get your podcasts. Please leave a 5-star rating and review. Tell your friends about all the shows on Locked On Sports Minnesota and let them know. Every day we're going to drop a nugget, whether it's football, college, or pro. This is the place you want to get it. And now a word from our sponsors.
Yep, it's BetOnline. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Time to start thinking about Week 1 lines. I just checked at betonline.net. The Packers are favored by 1 in the opener, and the over-under is 48. So BetOnline's thinking about a 24-23 game. They got the Packers winning, but that line is moving down in the Vikings' favor. Find reviews and news of every league, including MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL, and plenty more. BetOnline is simply your top online resource for all sports wagering information. They've got live in-game betting resources there, scores, and podcasts. They've just got you covered. Head there today on your computer or mobile device. It's BetOnline, where the game starts.
Yeah, Sam, so as we jump into this next topic, when you think about the trades, this is where I'm going to – and it's tough to give grades. I mean, this is like the first day of school and you take a pop quiz. And then all of a sudden you look at your grade. It's like, does it really matter? Like, I didn't study all summer. I have no idea. So – as far as grades, the grade the trades segment, here I'll go. Acquiring Ross Blacklock. I'm going to actually give that a B+. And this is why. I look at his size. He's a guy, he has experience, 2020 and 2021 seasons. He's a big body DN, so he fits what you're looking for. He fits the 3-4. So I got to give it a B+. The trading away Jesse Davis, the freeing up the cap space. And so that's the only thing I look at. We talked about that. The freeing up the cap space. What does that do for them? Does that give them the ability to go get an Ndamukong Suh eventually? If they free up enough space, can they talk him into, because he was a Ram. Kevin O'Connell has, that, or is it freeing up money for maybe an Odell Beckham move later? And they're just going to have free money so that when he's ready to sign, it's not like man, so-and-so's offering me, $5 million. You guys only have $2 million. So that's one of those things where, I think he's freeing up money. So early on, I say the Jesse Davis trade to me looks like a C+, only because Ed Ingram, he is a rookie. You never really know. Him and Jesse Davis were neck and neck, so it might not be bad to have a vet as a swing guard to if Ezra Cleveland gets hurt or Ed Ingram gets hurt, having a true swing guy that can really play in that position if needed. But he was getting pushed back in practice, so I get it. But you never know. Now, if the season goes on, Ed Ingram's great, Ezra Cleveland's great, no issues, and they do end up signing a guy using that money, then I can easily boost that up to an A, because that's a gutsy move to cut a guy or trade a guy away, knowing that you don't really know what you have in your rookie, but you've seen enough in that 80. I think that 80 play practice, ones versus ones with the 49ers. There was a lot of sneaky intel that happened there that we all really didn't get a chance to see because we weren't staring at some of the drills, some of the live plays. Because even full team, you're watching the receivers and running backs because you're watching where the ball goes. You're watching the action. Only time we see the offensive linemen is one, if they're doing something ridiculous, like pushing a guy down the field 10 yards or they're getting ran over. So that's what I'm going to give those two trades. I'm going to give it – and then some of the cuts, the Armon Watts cut right now, I got to give it a C because I just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm going to give it a B+ and a C on those trades. What about you, Sam?
All right, so Blacklock. In conjunction with cutting Watts, I think it's a C- because I think you downgrade from Watts to Blacklock, not knowing what the team is going to do. If they go bring in Ndamukong Suh, that changes the complexion. As it is at this moment, I mean, the Texans are giving up on a second-round pick after 2 years. So clearly there's something wrong here. There's something that they don't like about the player. They were willing to cut ties. He was pretty disappointing in Houston. He was pretty poor as a rookie and then had a bit of an improvement last year, but still not great. Only 2 sacks in about 500 snaps. He was a rotational player, was not a full-time player. And now he has to learn a new scheme, Ron. He's got less than 2 weeks to learn the 3-4 after coming from a 4-3. So I don't know if that's going to be easy for him. I don't know if he can start or not. I don't know if he's going to be a fit. So they got to find someone to play that position, and I'm not sure Blacklock can actually slot in and do what Watts was going to do. So I'm not a big fan of that exchange. So I'm going to say C- on that. Jesse Davis, I think it's a B. You're not getting really anything in return. A 2025 conditional 7th, who cares? But you save money. And you've got plenty of depth on the interior, I think, with Chris Reed, Austin Schlottman, Ed Ingram earned that job. And I'm okay saving money at any point if you're going to use it, in a way that helps your team. Now, if they're just going to sit on that cash and invest it and try to make 10% in the offseason for the Wilfs, I don't care about that. But if they're going to use that money and bring in help, I'm all for it. So I like the Davis trade. I don't like the Blacklock trade, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, we'll see because, like I said, September 11th, we'll all be in the stadium at US Bank. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to do Vikings Game Day live for real now. Now I get to really, like, my notebook. This is my favorite time of year because what you're going to get a chance to see, fans, is, like, I'm going to come stat loaded. Like, I love to break down the stats during the show. I'm going to talk a ton of stats before, during that week. Like, my notebook, I went to Target. Always go get me a nice, fresh notebook. Actually, no, I didn't because Target was out. I actually went to Office Max, my new go-to place now. I don't know why I didn't realize Office Max had all the stuff I need, but just because I was so used to as an athlete, it just showed up. Like, you need a notebook, Ron? Here you go. You need a binder for your playbook? Here you go. Oh, you need markers and pens and highlighters? Here you go. Now I had to go buy my own highlighters, my own pens, my own notebook, but Office Max is like, I don't know, it was like I felt like it was a Target for businessmen. I'm excited about my book, my notebook I got. And I'm going to have the notes every week now because I'll be able to take my notes during the game for the post-game fan line. And then I'm going to bring them to the show as well on Monday when we break it all down. But I'm excited because then, Sam, if Blacklock comes out there and he has 2.5 sacks and a forced fumble, or 1 sack and a forced fumble, I'm going to have to go back on that grade. But we'll see. Or he might suck and they're going to trade him and then I got to give it an F. But hey, we will see what happens. We're not going to do a pie in the face or anything crazy like that, but we definitely will talk about it once it comes to fruition. If Kirk Cousins throws for 5,000 yards, I can't wait. I cannot wait because Sam's going to have to wear a tinfoil hat or something. Like, we got to do something for that
if you want to pie me, if Kirk Cousins throws for 5,000 yards, I will accept a pie in the face. You can put an egg on my head, a pie in my face.
We'll have to have, like, I'm pretty sure Luke Inman or one of those guys would love to put, like, they've been waiting to pie you in the face, or like Arif Hassan. I think one of those guys
annoy the heck out of them twice a week. So yeah, I believe that.
So they would definitely want to pie you in the face. Might have to do it for the like the live shows when all 4 you guys are together or something like that. Add those bets in for the season where, the guy gets pied in the face. But before we jump into the Daily 3, I'm excited about the Daily 3. Why? Because it's more Vikings talk. We're going to jump in. It's 3 minutes, 3 questions, 3 minutes each. We're going to deep dive this a little bit more because, this is what we've all been waiting for, the 53. And honestly, Sam, I think it looks good because what we said kind of was pretty much the roster. Like, it's pretty much the roster that we put together. Like I said, if they keep Ty Chandler and CJ Ham, they can only keep 5 receivers. I said that, and that's exactly what happened. BC Johnson was our guy. He was in there until he got hurt. Jalen Naylor. So I think we kind of nailed some of those. Zach Davidson, I think, was the one. That was the other one we didn't talk about much. We can talk about that coming up next. But Zach Davidson, that was the one that we were like, I thought he was going to be a guy. But before we jump into the Daily 3, do you want instant post-game reaction from the insiders that cover your favorite teams? Check out our Locked On Sports Minnesota's podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Follow every Twins, Vikings, Wild, or Wolves game. Our Locked On team hosts are broadcasting live with team insiders. Catch Luke Braun and Sam Ekstrom every week after every Vikings game. And Brandon Warren and Nash Walker recapping every Twins game. And the Twins games are getting crazy. They're 1.5 games back. I mean, what the heck? They were just 4.5 games down, and they beat the Red Sox twice. Like, who would have ever thought that? And the Red Sox suck right now, by the way. Never miss a podcast by subscribing to Locked On Sports, Minnesota's YouTube channel. And now it's time for the Daily 3. Take it away, Sam.
Kind of sounds like you've got some big Twins takes. Maybe we just want to scrap Vikings talk and talk Twins the whole time. No, we'll get back to Twins if they keep winning. They have to earn it though. They have to earn the segment. We'll talk more Vikings roster. I want your opinion, Ron. What is the deepest position on the Vikings roster now that the roster is set? So we'll spend 3 minutes talking about the depth, and then we'll spend 3 minutes talking about the weakest positions. But we'll start with the strength. What do you think is the number one strength?
Well, the deepest positions on the roster now that the roster is set. I gotta go. I mean, this is an easy one, I know, but I gotta go receiver. Like, you got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, Amir Smith-Marset, and even Jalen Naylor, but those four. I think no matter what happens, like Amir Smith-Marset is ready. I feel like he's going to be the Van Jefferson of the Rams. Like, he's going to give you some deep posts every now and again. He's going to take the top off because everybody's going to jump Justin Jefferson if they run like an over route and a post, or some people call it a dagger. So it's just you run literally from one side of the field all the way across the other. If Justin Jefferson has the over and he has the dagger, like I could see him with his speed running away from a guy and Kirk Cousins just throwing the ball into the atmosphere. Like Uncle Rico, he could throw that ball over a mountain if he wanted to. But yeah, no, I think the receiving room is the deepest. The other one too, though, it is the running back room. You think about the number of Dalvin Cook and getting that number. I mean, he's going to be good. He's going to be really good. And then when you think about what's his name? Madison. Like, whether they trade him or not, I don't know if they will. I think he's going to run with purpose because he knows, like, look, if I'm on the trading block, that probably means they're not going to re-sign me. I mean, unless a Dalvin Cook is done for his career or something gets hurt, they're probably not going to re-sign me. So now he knows I'm running for a new, like, contract. Whether they decide to franchise him next year because running back salaries as an average is low. But I rarely see you get franchised as a backup running back, so I don't see that happening. But maybe because it's a 1-2 punch type situation. But yeah, like he knows he's going to be great as well. So I think that's going to be the key. The receiving room is deep and the running back room is deep, in my opinion.
I think you nailed it. I mean, I think it's fairly evident that those are the top two. Question is, which is number one? I'd probably go running back. I just think that you've got Madison clearly number two. And not only do you have a 3 in Kene, but you've got a 4 now in Chandler, and your fullback is really good. Like, all 5 of those guys I would trust to do the job really well. I mean, particularly as runners. Like, I don't know about the pass blocking capabilities of Kene and Chandler necessarily, but all 5 of those guys, or at least the top 4, can go out there and they can run the football. CJ Ham is going to block for them. They just all do that job really, really well. So I'm going to go with running back number 1, wide receiver number 2. Pivoting to the weakest positions on the roster, Ron. I don't know if there are glaring weaknesses on this team, but maybe some positions that are more top-heavy than others. What positions concern you at this point now that you see the 53?
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to say kicker punt. No. There's only one kicker punt. It doesn't matter.
Don't do that.
What? You don't want to go kicker punter conversation? We don't want to
after
scare
they
the fans?
made a 58-yard field goal on Saturday? We gotta have faith.
No, I won't go. It's just funny that when I was counting the players again, I did exactly what we did last time we did this roster thing of River. Like, I did all the players. I totally forgot about the specialists. I was looking at it as I'm doing the roster again, and I'm like, oh, that's exactly why our numbers were dead on. We just forgot about the punters, kickers. But no, I'm going to say tight end. I think tight end for me, it seems a little bit like I just don't feel like Irv Smith. And again, he's been hurt, so we don't even know what Irv's going to be. Like, is he going to be ready for week 1? Is he the guy they think he can be in this offense? Is he? I mean, because honestly, they just need him to be Tyler Higbee. Like, Tyler Higbee came out of nowhere and became this threat for the Rams. which is why they got rid of guys that you're like, oh, okay, they cut this guy. Because Tyler Higbee he became a fantasy football number. Like people were like, oh, this Higbee guy is giving you 5-6 catches in a game. So can he give you Higbee type of production? He's not as big as him. But the Ben Ellefson and some, it seems like there's a guy like OJ Howard, Dolphins fans are saying, but Bills fans are saying, oh, he can't block. I don't know if we need a true blocking tight end if we have a fullback like that and maybe one blocking tight end. I wouldn't mind seeing an OJ Howard. I don't know if he's going to clear waivers and make it to the Vikings, but I wouldn't mind seeing an OJ Howard next to because that's two Bama boys, if I'm not mistaken. And so you put two guys that know each other at tight end and you go too tight with that, plus then Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. That's a scary 4 receivers on the field when you look at who those tight ends are, what they give you, what O.J. Howard can give you in the red zone. I always thought O.J. Howard, because with the Bucks and then with the Bills, it just didn't work out. But I feel like, certain players just don't fit in certain schemes. He might fit in this scheme. But, again, that's just a name, and sometimes names are not as good as their talent, so you can't get caught up in that. But I would like a solid tight. I know the Rams released a guy that me was saying that, Kevin O'Connell might want to pick him up because that's his guy. So we could still see that. But, yeah, no, the Zach Davidson let go, a 6'7". It's like, man, I feel like they need a guy that can be a possible red zone Travis Kelce type guy. So I do feel tight end maybe. That's the one for me.
Yeah, I think tight end probably is the correct answer, but how about this one, Ron? So if we're thinking of Za'Darius Smith and Danielle Hunter as outside linebackers and not thinking of them as defensive linemen, their defensive line is a little bit shallow. They've got Dalvin Tomlinson, Harrison Phillips. Neither of those guys are really going to rush the passer too much. And then after that, Jonathan Bullard, Ross Blacklock, James Lynch, and Esezi Otomewo. There's not a lot of proven talent there behind Tomlinson and Phillips, and they're probably more run stuffers. So I'm not sure how much pass rush they're going to get from that 3-man front inside of their edge guys. So that position, sneaky, I think, is maybe a little bit void of some talent, but they've also got some prospects there that they might be able to surprise us. But that'd be a mild concern for me.
Well, the thing about the 3-4, we'll see this in week 1. Those middle 3 become 2 really fast because they move either Danielle or I think it's going to be Danielle. They're going to move him down. They talked about moving Za'Darius down too to rush from the 3 and the 5. So what you're going to see is those 3 only are going to be in run type of downs, and then they're going to come out fast once it becomes 2nd and long or 3rd and long or 3rd and 7 even. So I think those 6. Technically, I think they have what they need because you have your 3 starters, your 3 backups, and then mainly it's going to be a 2 front. Those are 2 gappers in that. That's why a lot of linebackers weren't Ray Lewis hated when the Ravens switched to a 3-4 because you're now a 2 gapper. So the guards are uncovered, which they can get to the linebackers faster. And so the middle linebackers don't like it as much because when they have 4 down linemen, the guards are covered. And now the only guy that can get to them is the center. So it changes it up a little bit, but I think they'll be okay there with this scheme because that's what everybody keeps saying when you see the articles written, which it's coming from the coaches. Keep in mind, this is a 3-4, not a 4-3. So that's what they keep saying. So I'm going to go with that. What you got next?
Okay, last one. Jimmy Garoppolo is staying in San Francisco after months of speculation, trade talks. Everybody thought it was a done deal. They never got it done. He's sticking around with a revised incentive-laden contract, base salary $6.5 million, and he's going to be a 49er for 1 more year as a highly compensated backup to Trey Lance. Ron, your reaction?
Well, there's the thing. There's no reason to trade if you don't know what you have. They have something that a lot of teams don't have, which is two true quarterbacks that could start for you. And so there's not a lot of teams. There's none. Let's be honest. There's not really a team out there that has that. I guess Nick Mullins could be a starter. He started in this league. But they have two true starters that could be a starter for any team, Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo at one point was the next heir apparent to Tom Brady. And, all of a sudden had a little bit of a down year and everybody's down on him. And then they draft Trey Lance and everybody's really down on him. So when you think about that, the purpose of it, 1, it fits both teams. 1, if something happens to Trey Lance, they still have a chance to win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G because he's gotten them there before. If Trey Lance is not as good as they thought, and it just doesn't work out because let's be real. top 5 quarterback picks have been bust before. Baker Mayfield didn't do as well as we thought. What's his name? Manziel. There's been some guys, Jamarcus Russell. There's been guys that, they got their shot and they just weren't what we thought they would be. Everybody's not a Pat Mahomes and Andrew Luck, so there's that. Trey Lance is mobile. So if he puts himself in a situation where he gets hurt, gets hit, you have Jimmy G. The contract bonuses don't hit their salary cap for like 2 years, depending on how it's structured and how it's paid out. Because that's what we don't see. The bonuses, like sometimes players get a bonus and they're not paid, even though it's guaranteed money and the owners have to. And that's why guys go to arbitration sometimes. It's like, look, you owe me this money. You got to pay me. Because like what we have to see is the language, because it says he wins the whatever NFC chip. So does that mean like he has to be the quarterback or play up down to get that money? And that's some of the stuff we're not seeing as well. Like the language, these are lawyers now. The language is very key. So we're not going to see the entire language until Adam Schefter somehow gets it on his desk and he tweets it out and tells us exactly what Jimmy G and exactly the verbiage, just like the whole study your playbook clause that Kyler Murray had, and then it got taken out. These lawyers for these teams aren't slick. So be very careful of that winning NFC championship. If that's Trey Lance that wins it, it might not be Jimmy G's money. It might mean like you get this if you come in and start and you win us an NFC championship. So we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, that happens. A lot of times that's paid out in the following season, meaning it's a signing bonus for the next year or a bonus for the next year, which then hits their cap another year. So they can defer it kind of like they did Adam Thielen's contract, where it defers like 2 years down the road. And you're just basically prolonging trying to win a Super Bowl, and then you get hit, and then you got to cut guys and get rid of guys you didn't want to get rid of, but you won your Super Bowl, and you're like, all right, we did it. We loaded up. We got it. And now let's try to start over again. So, everybody's not lucky like Belichick to have a quarterback that's willing to take less money to keep winning championships. But yeah, no, that's what I think about that move. What do you think?
Isn't this kind of a bad deal for San Francisco long term that they didn't find a trade partner? Like, what wouldn't they have hoped to get a lot for this guy? And now if he's going to play out the year and become a free agent, they lose him for nothing? Like, is that the way that it's going to go, where they really don't get anything for Jimmy G? I just feel like that's a missed opportunity as an organization. And maybe nobody was a taker. Maybe nobody could meet their trade demands. But that's a pretty big asset to just hang on to and potentially let walk. That's where my mind goes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think that is a huge like whiff. But at the same time, you look at all the 32 teams out there. I think everybody is pretty set. They think they are at least. And so nobody wanted to pull the trigger. I was surprised in the Seahawks. I thought the Seahawks would be the team to go get them, but I guess whatever they wanted versus what they were willing to give up, and they thought Geno can get it done for now. And they know, and they also know, like, look, let's play Russian roulette with this guy. Let's play a game of chicken. Who's gonna turn first? And neither flinched. And so they're like, look, we can just wait now. Let's eat this season in 2023. DK, calm down. We just signed you. We're gonna go get you Jimmy G because he'll be a free agent. And the 49, and then the Seahawks have a lot to offer because they're like, look, we get to play those guys. So come on over here. We get to play the 49ers. So come on over here. Let's go beat your boy Trey Lance. Let's show your coach you're good. Pete Carroll turned Russell Wilson into a great quarterback. He's old, but he still has that youthful like coaching in him. I think he still can get it done unless he decides to retire. But then there's a lot of hot candidates out there like Eric Bieniemy. There's a lot of guys in that area as well. Like he's from Colorado. So there's a lot of guys and coaches on that list that possibly could be the next coach to be there. I do like the move though. I think, you know what, better for both teams. You didn't trade for nothing you don't want. Now the Seahawks can go get Jimmy G in the offseason if they really want him. But that'll do it for the Ron Johnson Show today. I want to thank Sam Ekstrom, Matt DeBritz back there on the keys. I want to thank all the sponsors that continue to support us. This is Locked On Sports, Minnesota's podcast network. Please continue to download, subscribe, share, like, and comment. Let us know, what do you think? What was the most surprising cut? Who's the deepest position room on this team? And do they need to do more with this roster? Or is this 53 pretty much set? Thank you, and have a great day.